It is my distinct honor, ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Sanders.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming out this morning, and thank you for your support now and the support that you've given us in the past. There is obviously no other place that we could begin this campaign than in the city of Burlington, and in fact, in this building, and in fact, doing it together. 5 years ago, on March 3rd, 1981, they counted the ballots for mayor right here in this building. And they discovered, to their surprise, that the establishment had lost, that the big money people had lost, and that their political representatives had lost. On that night, and in the following 5 years, we have politically accomplished here in Burlington what has literally not been done in any other city or town in the United States of America. We have taken on the system, the big money, the newspaper, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, all of their representatives, and we beat them. And in doing so, we became an inspiration not only to the people in our own state, throughout the state of Vermont, but in fact to people all over the United States of America. At a time when hope and optimism are in pretty short supply, our movement has become a symbol that says that if you work hard, if you knock on the doors, that if you organize effectively, if you tell the truth to the people, they will respond.
You're mayor of Burlington, Vermont. From your perspective in that job, what kind of a person would you like to see as president of the United States?
Well, I would like to see somebody who has the guts to begin to stand up to the people who own this country, to recognize that in our nation today we have an extreme disparity between the rich and the poor, that elections are bought and sold and controlled by people who have huge sums of money. So my first concern is to have a president who has the courage to look reality in the face and say that we need some radical changes in this country so that every American can have the opportunity to have a decent standard of living and live a decent life. I also, when we talk about presidential politics, I always have a little bit of a problem because I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. In Burlington, Vermont, we have, I think, the only three-party system in the United States of America. My dream would be that we would have a strong third-party movement in the United States composed of working people and minorities and women groups and all of the people who are presently disenfranchised, though that doesn't exist right now. So my options are somewhat limited. But essentially, I would like to see somebody who speaks for the underdog, for the people who don't have decent health care benefits, somebody who understands that in America today 50% of the people don't even vote anymore. And the vast majority of that 50% are poor people and working people who have given up on the system. So essentially, I would like to see a candidate who has the guts to have a vision that America could be a land for all people, not just the land
controlled by the super rich. Important amendment brought forth by Congressman Dellums and Congresswoman Waters. Sometimes I think that the people in this institution and in the White House are really losing contact and not knowing what's going on with the American people. In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices. And this is what the choice is about. We're spending $270 billion a year on the military, but we don't have a major enemy. I know it hurts your feelings. I know you're upset about it. I know you're hoping and praying that maybe we'll have another war. maybe somebody will rise up. But it ain't happening. The Soviet Union doesn't exist. The Warsaw Pact is through. Who you worried about? Iraq? Panama? Who you worried about? I'll tell you who I'm worried about. I'm worried about the fact that our workers are seeing a decline in their standard of living. They want to see our industry be rebuilt. That's what they want to see. No more B-2 bombers, no more Star Wars. Let's make the quality products we need. Let's invest in American industry. No, I won't yield. The American people want to see our kids educated. They want a Head Start program. They want their kids to be able to go to college. They want to wipe out the fact that 5 million children in this country go to bed hungry. They want child care for their kids. They want decent education. Let's have the guts to give some leadership to this country. The Cold War's over. Let's reinvest in America. Let's support this amendment.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California.
Okay. Yesterday?
Absolutely.
For what?
They're demonstrating against the nonsense that's going on in Washington and the pomposity of many of these governors here who are backing the contract with America, which is one of the great frauds ever perpetrated on the American people. The people, yesterday we had some 2,200 people in Vermont out, some from out of state, most from Vermont. And what they said, it's insane to be giving huge tax breaks for the rich, to be building more B-2 bombers, spending more money on the military, and cutting back on programs for the children, slashing Medicare, cutting back on veterans programs, that what Gingrich and his friends are doing is a crime. And I'm very proud that here in the city of Burlington and throughout the state of Vermont, we have many people who are standing up and say, this is garbage and we got to fight back.
Were you?
Ask for unanimous consent to address the body for 5 minutes.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, we should make no mistake about it. Today is a tragic day for humanity, for the people of Iraq, for the people of the United States, and for the United Nations as an institution. It is also a tragic day for the future of our planet and for the children, 30,000 of whom in the third world will starve to death today while we spend billions to wage this war, and 25% of whom live in poverty in our own country because we apparently lack the funds to provide them a minimal standard of living. Mr. Speaker, despite the fact that virtually the entire world has been united against Saddam Hussein, a two-bit vicious dictator who illegally and brutally invaded Kuwait, the President concluded that there was no way of resolving this conflict and achieving our goals other than waging a massive war, perhaps unprecedented in the history of the world in terms of the death and destruction wrought in its first day as a result of our aerial attacks. I disagree with that assessment. Mr. Speaker, there are three immediate concerns that I have regarding the current tragedy. First, despite the fact that we are now allied with such Middle Eastern governments as Syria, a terrorist dictatorship, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, feudalistic dictatorships, and Egypt, a one-party state which receives $7 billion in debt forgiveness to wage this war with us, I believe that in the long run, the action unleashed last night will go strongly against our interests in the Middle East. Clearly, the United States and its allies will win this war, but the death and destruction caused will not, in my opinion, soon be forgotten by the Third World in general and by the poor people of the Middle East in particular. I fear very much that what we said yesterday is that war and the enormous destructive power of our armed forces is our preferred manner for dealing with the very complicated and terrible crises in the Middle East. I fear that someday we will regret that decision and that we are in fact laying the groundwork for more and more wars in that region in years to come. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, while there is no question in my mind that the United States government and its allies will win this war, I am not at all sure that the people of our country, especially the working people, the poor people, and the elderly, will win. The 2 million homeless people in our country sleeping out on the sidewalks and under the bridges are not going to win this war. There will be no money available to house them.
The tens of millions of Americans who cannot afford health care today are not going to win this war. There will be no money available for their needs. The family farmers in Vermont who are today being driven off of their land are not going to win this war, nor will the children or the elderly, who in all probability will see cutbacks in their Social Security and their Medicare checks in order to fund it. Mr. Speaker, it is incumbent upon us to do everything in our power now that the war has started to prevent unnecessary bloodshed and to support our troops in the most basic way by bringing them home alive and well. I urge my fellow members to ask the President to stop the bombing immediately and request that the Secretary General of the United Nations go to Iraq to begin immediate negotiations for the withdrawal of Iraq from Kuwait and the cessation of the war. Let us do everything in our power to stop unnecessary bloodshed. Thank you.
The gentleman's time has expired. Under a previous order of the
Mr. Speaker,
House,
in the brief time I have, let me give you 5 reasons why I'm opposed to giving the President a blank check to launch a unilateral invasion and occupation of Iraq, and why I will vote against this resolution.
Just make a brief comment and be happy to take a few questions. We don't have an endless amount of time. We've got to get back. Let me just say this. This country today, in my view, has more serious crises than at any time since the Great Depression of the 1930s. For most Americans, their reality is that they're working longer hours for lower wages. In inflation-adjusted income, they're earning less money than they used to years ago, despite a huge increase in technology and productivity. So all over this country, I've been talking to people and they say, how does it happen? I'm producing more, but I'm working longer hours for lower wages. My kid can't afford to go to college. I'm having a hard time affording health care. How does that happen? While at exactly the same time, 99% of all new income generated in this country is going to the top 1%. How does it happen that the top 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%? And my conclusion is that that type of economics is not only immoral, it's not only wrong, it is unsustainable. It can't continue. We can't continue having a nation in which we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major nation on earth at the same time as we're seeing a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires. So that's the major issue.
As a vice chair of the DNC, I'm required to stay neutral in Democratic primaries, but I cannot remain neutral any longer. The stakes are just too high. That's why today I'm endorsing Senator Bernie Sanders to be our next President and Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
So let's go through just some basic issues here real fast so that everybody can know what you're running your campaign on. You mentioned Medicare for All already, so you're running on Medicare for All. Are you for a living wage?
Absolutely. Fight for 15.
Are you for free college?
Tuition-free college.
Are you for ending the wars?
Absolutely. We have to end the AUMF as well.
Are you for a New Deal, a big infrastructure project?
Yep, that also includes transitioning to a 100% renewable economy.
Are you for criminal justice reform?
100%. Rikers Prison is in our district, so this is very important.
So you want to ban private prisons?
Absolutely. We have to ban private prisons. We also need to boot a lot of these for-profit services that are starting to infiltrate our public prisons as well. We also need to end the war on drugs. We need to legalize cannabis. And we also need to reform our probation laws as well.
Okay. Everybody listening, she's running for office. If you could vote for her if you're in New York's 14th district.
She's looking at herself on television right now. How are you feeling? Can you put it into words?
Nope. I cannot put this into words.
All right, you're